My name is Shirley. Last Sunday, at a family dinner, my sister, Lily, shoved me off my chair right in front of our mother, our Aunt Grace, and two of Lily's friends. It happened in the dining room of a house I've been paying for every single month for the past 5 years. As I hit the cold tile floor that my father laid 20 years ago, the whole table burst into laughter. It wasn't a cruel laugh, but more of that dismissive kind people reserve for someone they think doesn't matter. I looked up at Lily and smiled. "Enjoy this dinner," I said. "It's your last free one." Then I stood up, pulled out my phone, and with one tap, everything changed. By morning, I had 73 missed calls. Let me take you back 5 years to the week I made a decision that would change my life. My father passed away on a Wednesday in October. He was 65, and it was a heart attack that took him while he was in the middle of mowing the back lawn. By the time the ambulance arrived, the mower was still running. He left behind my mother, Rose, who was 63 at the time, my sister Lily, who is 3 years older than me, a beautiful ranch-style house with a wrap-around porch and a mortgage with $210,000 still outstanding. My mother had a small pension and worked part-time at a local bookstore, greeting customers a couple of mornings a week. When she applied to refinance the loan, the bank didn't even give her a counter offer. She simply didn't qualify. And Lily, well, she was going through a messy divorce that had ruined her credit, so she wasn't an option either. That left me. I was 32, working as a paralegal at a law firm. I had a steady income, no debt, and a credit score of 740. Those numbers were good enough for the mortgage lender. So, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, I drove to a small office on Elm Street that smelled of stale coffee and old papers. I sat next to my mother. She had a handkerchief balled up in one hand and a pen in the other. I picked up my own pen, a cheap ballpoint that scratched against the paper as if warning me. I signed as a co-signer. My mother squeezed my hand so hard it left a mark. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Shirley," she said. "We'll split the payments, I promise." I believed her, not out of naivety. I'd seen so many families make and break promises in the law firm. But she was my mother, and her eyes were red, and my father's lawn mower was still sitting in the garage. The monthly payment was $4,000. My mother was supposed to pay half. For the first 3 months, she sent checks. Then it became every other month, then quarterly, and finally, she stopped paying altogether. But I never stopped. 5 years later, I'd put $240,000 into a house I didn't even live in. I hadn't done the math until recently, and I really wish I had done it sooner. A year after I signed that mortgage, Lily's divorce was finalized. Her ex-husband, Tom, got the townhouse, the car, and joint custody of their son. Lily moved back home on a Saturday. I remember it clearly because I was dropping off my mother's prescription and found the front porch buried under boxes. "It's just temporary," Lily told me in the hallway, her perfume so overpowering it made me cough. "Just until I get back on my feet." But she quickly made herself at home. Within a week, she'd rearranged the living room furniture, claimed the master bathroom, and started having her friends over for wine on Fridays. Within a month, she was dictating the weekly dinner menu and telling my mother what groceries to buy. I brought it up gently one day. "Maybe Lily could contribute a bit towards the mortgage since she's living here?" My mother looked at me as if I'd suggested something unthinkable. "Your sister is going through a tough time, Shirley. Don't add to her stress." Lily was in the next room, watching TV. She heard every word, but didn't bother to come out. My mother had taken her side. That night, I drove back to my tiny studio apartment, a 450-square-foot place on the second floor of an old building with a temperamental elevator. I sat on my bed, which also served as my couch, and transferred $4,000 to the mortgage lender, just like every other month. Lily contributed nothing, and my mother contributed nothing. About 3 weeks later, I stopped by the house unannounced to pick up a sweater I'd left in the hall closet. My old bedroom, the room where I'd had so many memories, had a new lock on the door. Lily had moved in.
"Better storage," she said.
And more light.
She didn't even ask.
That was 4 years ago, and she's never left. The word temporary was never mentioned again. Let me tell you what paying $4,000 a month looks like when you earn $50,000 a year. It means living in a studio with a window facing an alley. It means driving an old car with a check engine light that I've learned to ignore. It means packing the same simple lunch every day, sandwiches, fruit, and whatever was on sale at the grocery store. It means skipping coffee shops because I can't afford it. After taxes, I brought home about $3,300 a month, and the mortgage was $4,000. You can see the problem. I took on part-time data entry work 3 evenings a week in a windowless room on the 5th floor of an office building. The fluorescent lights buzzed at a frequency that drove me crazy, and the keyboard was sticky. I'd type from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Drive home, set my alarm for 6 a.m. and do it all over again. My coworker, Ava, noticed my situation before anyone else. Ava was a senior paralegal at the firm. She was 43, sharp-tongued, and had a way of seeing through people. She'd watched me bring the same brown bag lunch for 2.5 years. One Thursday, she put a coffee on my desk. "You never buy coffee," she said. "I like the coffee I make at home," I replied. "You drink hot water with a used tea bag, surely."
"I've seen it," she retorted.
I was silent. "How much are you paying for the house?" she asked, matter-of-factly. "For $1,000 a month," I told her. She stared at me. "You're paying almost half your income for a house you don't live in." "It's my mother's house," I said. Ava took a long sip of her coffee and then set it down. She didn't lecture me. She just sat there for a moment, as if processing the situation. "Okay," she said finally, and then went back to her work. That silence said more than any words could. Every family has its rituals, and ours was Sunday dinner. Every week, I'd drive 40 minutes from my apartment to my mother's house. I'd bring whatever Lily told me to bring, usually drinks or paper plates. I always got the cheapest items on the list. I never questioned it, but I should have. The seating arrangement said it all. Lily sat at the head of the table, in my father's old chair. She claimed it the first Sunday she moved back in, and no one challenged her. My mother sat to her right, close enough to pass dishes easily. I sat at the far end, near the kitchen door, where the draft made my feet cold in the winter. The conversation always revolved around Lily. Lily's looking for a new job. She hadn't even updated her resume in months. Lily needs more time to heal. It had been 4 years, and she was still using that excuse. Lily made this delicious lasagna. It was from a box, but my mother would beam with pride. One Sunday in April, I mentioned the leaky roof. A contractor I'd called quoted $4,500 to fix it. "We should talk about how to cover this," I said. Lily didn't even look up from her plate. "That's your problem," she said. My mother just nodded, like she always did when Lily made a decision. I excused myself to clear my plate. While standing at the kitchen sink, I noticed my mother's credit card statement stuck to the fridge with a magnet. I wasn't snooping, it was right there. There were several charges from a high-end clothing store, all in Lily's name. I washed my plate, dried it, and put it away. Then I drove home. I paid for the roof repair the following Tuesday. No one said thank you. No one said anything at all. I turned 37 on a Wednesday. It wasn't a big birthday, but people usually remember. My phone was silent all morning. No call from my mother, no text from Lily. By noon, I'd checked my phone twice, then put it face down on my desk and told myself it didn't matter. Ava showed up at 2:30 with a single cupcake from the bakery down the street. It had a little candle shaped like the number 7. "They were out of 3s, she said. "So, you're 7 today. Happy 2nd grade birthday." I laughed, really laughed for the first time in weeks. Then I went to the restroom, locked the stall, and cried for a few minutes with the hand dryer running so no one could hear. That same week, Lily posted pictures on Instagram. There were a dozen photos from a girls' night at the house. There were 20 guests, string lights on the porch, my mother's good china, and wine glasses everywhere. Lily was in the center of every shot, looking happy. I sat in my car outside my apartment at 11 p.m., watching the rain run down the windshield. I scrolled through every photo. 20 people were having a great time in a house I was keeping afloat with half my income, and I wasn't even invited. For the first time in 5 years, I thought about just stopping the payments. But I knew the math. My name was on the mortgage. If I stopped paying, the bank would come after me. My credit score would plummet, and my dream of ever having my own home would be gone. I was trapped. One night at 3 a.m., I opened my laptop and typed co-signer mortgage law into the search bar. The results were dense with legal jargon and case citations. But buried in the fourth article, I found the term equitable lien. I didn't know what it meant at first, but I copied it into my notes and closed the laptop. Over the next 2 weeks, I spent my lunch breaks reading mortgage law. I was methodical, just like I was at work. I used a highlighter and cross-reference terms against state property statutes. I learned that a co-signer who makes 100% of the mortgage payments over an extended period may have grounds to claim an equitable lien on the property. That meant the law might recognize my financial stake in the house, even though my name wasn't on the deed. I also learned about partition actions. If a co-owner or equitable stakeholder wants out, they can petition the court to force a sale and divide the proceeds. It wasn't a quick or easy process, but it was legal. One afternoon, Ava caught me with 2 tabs of state property code open on my computer. "You're reading mortgage law on your lunch break," she said, not as a question, but out of curiosity. "That's how it starts," she added. "First, it's curiosity, then it's phone calls, then it's getting your life back." That evening, I did something I should have done years ago. I opened my banking app and scrolled back through 60 months of mortgage payments. I took screenshots of every transaction and saved them in a folder on my desktop. I named it Evidence. I stared at the total of $240,000 for a long time. It was more money than I'd ever seen in one place, and none of it was in my own account. The following Sunday, Lily had a guest at dinner, a woman named Sophie. She was a real estate agent, and her manicure probably cost more than my weekly groceries. She sat next to Lily and laughed at all the right moments. Lily introduced everyone around the table. "This is Mom. She's the heart of the house." My mother blushed. "And this is my little sister, Shirley. She works at a law firm, filing papers." I didn't just file papers. I handled complex legal cases, but correcting her would have taken too much energy. Sophie asked, "Do you enjoy your job?" Before I could answer, Lily said, "She doesn't have much of a choice. Some people are just meant to be in support roles." She said it while refilling her wine glass, a bottle that cost $40, paid for by my money. My mother let out a nervous laugh, and Sophie gave me an uncomfortable look. I ate in silence, chewing slowly and tasting nothing. I watched Lily hold court at the table, in my father's chair, and I realized she truly believed what she was saying. After dinner, as I was rinsing plates, Sophie came up to me at the sink. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "your job sounds really interesting." She dried a plate, set it on the stack, and walked back to the living room. It was a small kindness from a stranger, but it meant more than I could say. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before driving home. I wasn't crying, I was doing math. I calculated how many of Lily's wine bottles my monthly payment could buy. The answer was 100. I almost laughed. Then, one Tuesday in May, I stopped by the house to drop off my mother's vitamins. The pharmacy was near the law firm, so it saved her a trip. My mother was out at a doctor's appointment. Lily's car was in the driveway, but the house felt empty. I could hear music playing upstairs. I left the vitamins on the kitchen counter and was about to leave when I saw an envelope next to the fruit bowl. It was a Venmo confirmation statement addressed to Lily. I almost didn't look twice, but the amount, $700, was printed on the front. The sender's note said, "April rent, J. Smith." I stopped in my tracks. Rent? I walked down the hallway to my old bedroom. There was a new deadbolt on the door, and outside, there were a pair of men's work boots. Lily was renting out my old room in the house I was paying $4,000 a month for, and she was pocketing every cent. My hands were shaking, not from sadness but from a cold, hard anger. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of the envelope, the deadbolt, and the boots. I checked each photo for clarity and retook the ones that were blurry. This was evidence. I drove back to the law firm and skipped lunch. The next day, I told Ava. We sat on a bench in the small park behind the firm. I showed her the photos. She held my phone at arm's length and scrolled through the images without saying a word. Then she handed my phone back. She's renting out your room and keeping the money, Ava said. Technically, it's your mother's house, but you've put $240,000 into it. This isn't about family anymore, Shirley. This is theft. The word hung in the air between us. I'd spent 5 years thinking of it as sacrifice, as duty, as family. But Ava was right. She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card. Patricia Harris, attorney at law, real estate, and family property. I've been carrying this for 3 months, waiting for you to be ready. I took the card. I'll think about it, I said. You'll call her, Ava replied firmly. I called Patricia Harris the following Monday. Not because Ava pushed me, but because Lily had texted the family group chat the night before, saying she was thinking about redecorating the living room. My mother had replied with heart emojis, and I'd replied with nothing. Instead, I dialed Patricia's number. I decided to try one more time to talk to my family before involving a lawyer. That Sunday, we had a roast beef dinner. After everyone had their food, I set my fork down. I think we should talk about the house expenses and find a way to split them more fairly, I said, keeping my voice steady. There was a moment of silence. The old clock on the wall ticked loudly. Lily spoke first. Are you seriously bringing up money at dinner? It's not about money. It's about fairness, I said. Fairness. Lily set her wine glass down. I cook, I clean, I take care of Mom. You just sit in your apartment and write checks. My mother put her hand on her chest. Shirley, she said, her voice trembling, your father would be disappointed. Family doesn't count pennies. It's not pennies, Mom. It's $4,000 a month, I said. Lily leaned forward. What about all the work I do here? A live-in caregiver would cost $60,000 a year. I looked it up. I knew she was making it up. The details were too perfect. You could at least contribute a little, I started. My mother began to cry. Why do you want to tear this family apart? Your father built this house, and you're ruining it. Lily reached over and squeezed my mother's hand. They were a united front. I picked up my fork and ate a few more bites of roast beef, even though I couldn't taste it. I washed my plate, drove home, and the next morning, I called Patricia Harris and said, How soon can I come in? Patricia's office was on the 3rd floor of a building downtown between a flower shop and a dry cleaner. The waiting room had 2 old leather chairs and a window that looked out onto a park. Patricia herself was 58, with gray hair and a no-nonsense attitude. I liked her.